It is our final Friday show of the year. Or wait, no, I guess of the season, not of the year, because it's a new year. It's 2025. And apparently, this is my first stream of the year. I don't even know. I'm at a loss now, wherever we're at, still trying to figure it out, but makes sense for where we're at with the San Francisco 49ers as they get prepared to play the Arizona Cardinals coming up. We've got some updates. Players are going to be out. And hey, we're just going to vibe, talk about the final game of the season, do all that good stuff. So drop a SDS in the chat, smash that like button. Let's get it. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Niner Faithful says, who wants to see 49ers get a W and be 1-0 and 25 heading in to next season? Do you guys know if the 49ers draft positioning is locked in? Someone said that to me. I don't know for sure. But win or lose, are they picking number 11 overall? Because if they are, that dramatically changes how I feel about the 49ers winning or losing this game. Because let's say it does change. If it does and the 49ers get a lesser draft pick, I honestly would prefer the better draft pick at this point. We already found out Brock Purdy's been ruled out, no Debo, a laundry list of other players who aren't going to be playing in this game. So it sounds like they are locked. Wait, no. If they lose, they are locked into 11th. If they win, they could move down to 14th. See, that's a big jump because for me and all the previous drafts that we've covered, that 11 spot, you can still get a blue chip guy who just falls down due to quarterbacks going higher, positional needs going higher. You can still really get a very, very talented player at 11. 14, you can still get a talented player there as well. But it does kind of change the variable outcome of potentially who you could get. So listen, like I don't think I've ever really rooted for the 49ers to lose. And I don't think that's going to change for this upcoming game. But I'm also rooting for the 49ers to be in the best position to build their 2025 roster to the best place that it needs to be. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, to me, the season is over. We're dealing with the semantics of it all. We just got one more game to play. We got to get through it. For me, a win against the Cardinals would look like playing hard, being competitive, getting out of there injury free. And if it does impact our draft position, then I'm actually fine if they lose. Like, it really isn't going to bother me all that much because the way that I'm looking at it is this season's over. Now, I don't want them to go in there and just mail it in. I still want to see them be competitive and try to get after it. But if they lose, I'm not stressing over it. To me, I'm more like, all right, good. The rare times, one of the rare times I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll take that L. Like, if it means it gets us as close to a top 10 draft pick as possible, then that's a win to me because the 49ers have so many things to address next year that having a higher first round pick, a higher second round pick, a higher third round pick, it goes all the way down the line. To have those just couple extra spots can be the difference in getting sniped from a player that you really want. And I don't want that to happen. So that's a good spot to be in from a draft perspective. So I think because my brain is already like it's the off season, we just happen to play a game. I want a better draft pick. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and it's going to be very rare for me to ever like willingly want the 49ers to lose because I never want that to happen. I want them to be successful, but unfortunately this season hasn't gone the way anyone has anticipated. So as I mentioned, a win to me is setting yourself up in 2025 to be able to put your best foot forward. You heard Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch kind of talking about it. They're excited to be able to get, 2 months that they typically don't have to be able to really like get through the season, to be able to really understand where they need to get better and where they need to improve. And I have a laundry list of things that I think the 49ers need to improve on next season, but I'm sure they do as well. So I'm of the mindset get in, get healthy, or get out, stay healthy. And if you can protect your current draft pick that you have, then even better. I'm not going to be mad if they win and they affect their draft position a little bit. That's not going to be a thing, but I'm not going to pretend like, maybe a better draft pick would be ideal for the 49ers. I would like that because I want the best player imaginable. I'm definitely leaning towards still defense in the draft, but we'll see. We'll see what that comes down to. But with the 49ers, we got to get this game out the way. And Josh Dobbs is going to get the start. Sounds like George Kittle might play in this game. No Deebo Samuel in this one. It sounds like I would imagine Colton McKivitz plays. No Spencer Burford. No Deommodore Lenoir. I'm curious to kind of imagine how you guys feel about Deebo Samuel not playing. It kind of feels kind of contract related. I'm not really sure. Again, this is just kind of I saw it and I was like, I wonder why he's not playing because I've kind of envisioned this year being a contract year for him. And so to me, he's getting ready to go into this offseason seeking a new contract, whether it's from the 49ers, whether it's from someone else. So I wonder if they just like, let's not risk you getting hurt or injured and, locking in some weird like injury guarantee of not being able to pass a physical on March 1st or something like that. So I don't know. It could be, it could not be, but I'm wondering if that is a move to kind of protect his future a little bit. But again, like I said, they're really not playing for anything other than pride at this point. And guys like Joshua Dobbs, he's playing for his career. So I expect to see the best version of Joshua Dobbs that we're gonna get. It's a revenge game against his old team, one of his old teams. He's got a bunch of old teams, but it's a revenge game for Dobbs. He's going to be able to get actually a full game under his belt in the scheme on the 49ers. Banged up offensive line, not having all the weapons, and if he performs well, he might be able to leverage this into a big time opportunity, kind of like Sam Darnold did last year. Now we don't know if that's going to be the case, just because Sam Darnold has that top 5 draft pick kind of cloud that follows him everywhere that allows to keep him getting opportunities. But Dobbs could do something special with it. So that's why I'm going Dobbs on my picks, baby. We're going Dobbs. I'm taking the over on rushing yards. It's only set at 29.5, and we saw him get that 7-yard touchdown run. There at the end of the game against the Lions. I think that will be more on display. So I'm going with Josh Dobbs rushing over. I'm also going with the Ricky Pearsall home game. Arizona kid coming back to the state where he grew up. Only 34 reception yards. Like we said, Deebo Samuel's already been ruled out. So I think Pearsall, like 34 and a half reception yards. We saw what he was able to do when he got a healthy amount of targets against the Lions. I think Dobbs is going to be looking for him. Obviously, going to be looking for Jawan Jennings as two of the primary targets. So that one feels like a gimme to me. So I took Pearsall on the over, and then I took Trey McBride on the over 69.5. Nice. I think McBride will be peppered early and often. So if you guys want to get in on this action, remember only $5, only a $5 ticket. You have to play, and you instantly get 55 $55 straight into your wallet, like you already won. So all you got to do is use my code SF9ers, and I get you in there like swimwear. Again, super easy. Like if you think about it, if you just played $5 tickets, you have how many opportunities if you just play $5 tickets? And I'm just saying, it's a great deal, great opportunity. Get in on some of this DFS action. If you haven't tried it yet, it's pretty fun. Makes games like the one we're about to watch against the Arizona Cardinals, 49ers, a little bit more interesting, right? Not really playing for a whole lot, but hey, you throw a ticket out there, you might be a little bit more invested in the game than you would expect. So that's the way that I'm kind of looking at it. Ooh, Invader. Oh, they won't draft Banks. He's a guard. I don't know if we're ready for the. I don't know if we're ready for our takes on Banks yet, because 49er fans have absolutely gravitated to Banks out of Texas. He was the left tackle for them. I haven't done a film breakdown on him. I haven't done a full comprehensive breakdown on Banks yet, but I don't disagree. I'm trying to figure out why he was a consensus All-American. Again, I have no priors heading into watching Banks tape other than what people tell me. They tell me that he's really good. And they tell me he's the best offensive line prospect. And so I went into the tape expecting to see that, and I don't believe I saw that. And I've watched 2 or 3 games. I can't remember, 2 or 3 games, and I haven't seen that. I wouldn't even, based on what I've seen of Banks, I wouldn't even put him in the top tier from last year's offensive line class. He would kind of be in that, right now, bottom first, early second tier. So I that to me tells me I don't know how good this offensive line class is, just based on how he's being discussed and what I've seen. Like I said, I'm going to do a full film breakdown on him. I'm going to pull the clips to give you examples. But my first impression, I was expecting some like world beater offensive tackle, and I was really disappointed in what I saw. I saw a really sloppy, lumbering, stops his feet in pass protection. Just a guy that I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look like a 49ers offensive lineman unless you're thinking of playing him at center or guard. But we're not taking a center or guard that high. So I've looked at the top 3. Campbell, Will Campbell, and West Virginia tackle. None of those three jumped off the tape like, oh, we need to take this guy at 11. So I've already been kind of like, I don't think the 49ers need to take an offensive lineman at 11 as it currently stands. They're kind of pushing me in that direction based on the prospects that I'm watching. I'm like, those guys don't look like top. Like they might be top prospects in this particular class, but like I said, that to me is more indicative of the offensive line class than them actually being worth those picks. So I agree with JM here. So far, again, first impression, and I want to make that abundantly clear. The more I watch, the more tape study I do, I will refine my opinion. And sometimes I can flip my opinion. It's just how it works. More information, go down to the Senior Bowls. Turns out he's balling out, and I change my opinion a little bit. So, but just on first impression alone, I have not seen an offensive lineman that makes me bang the table at pick 11. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with the O-line prospects. Again, I've only watched those three guys so far. They have positives to their games, but like the West Virginia guy, he reminds me of Pooney. He reminds me of Pooney because he doesn't have a natural kick step. And that's why when I was studying Pooney, I was like, well, Pooney is a guard. Pooney does not have the feet or base to be an elite tackle. He could probably play tackle, and he could probably be pretty suitable at it, but he didn't have a kick step. And when I watched the West Virginia guys, very similar. He didn't have a kick step, and I'm like, oh, guard. And then the Will Campbell to me looks like a tackle. He doesn't look like a guard. He has pad level issues. He plays really high. And his hands, he punches wide. So if he misses, it turns into a hug. And he has a hard time struggling to get his hands inside. But he has really good power. Will Campbell, when he punches someone, I'm surprised by how much they move. So he has better power than I anticipated, moves decently well, has high pad level, punches wide, doesn't look like a guard to me. He will definitely be a tackle in the NFL. So, I mean, if I had to rank those guys right now, it would probably be Campbell. And then like a tier below down might be Banks and this West Virginia guy. But like I said, I got to do more work on them. I got to look way more into the tape. All I can say is I had high expectation. That's why I love going into tape without any expectations, like any hype, just no idea. And I just flip it on and it's either good or it's not good. And I make my own assertions based on what I'm watching. It's hard when I'm like just hearing from everyone, oh, Banks is the guy, Banks is the guy, Banks is the guy. And I get into Banks' film and I'm like, ooh, I don't like him. So we'll see. I also understand that my type of offensive lineman is I want a more athletic tackle. I want a tackle who can move. I want a tackle who has good feet. I want a tackle who has good hips, good hands. And I know that is being, not a lot of tackles look like Trent Williams, right? But I want an athletic tackle to be able to match the athletic edges that are in the league. I don't want a lumbering tackle. Like it seems like a setup for failure. And man, when you watch Banks in that game against ASU, he did not play well. Now he might have been a little banged up with his ankle, but he wasn't playing well. He wasn't playing well. So I have a lot of questions about the consensus number one offensive lineman in this draft class. And again, I went into the tape hoping I was going to be blown away and be like, yep, this is an easy pick. easy decision. Going with a guy from Texas, Kyle's alma mater. We need a tackle. Uh, maybe play right tackle, kick McKivitz into guard. You get a little, creative with it. But I'm like, no, I don't see a guy that's worth the 11th overall pick. So, and when I'm talking about Banks, I'm talking about the Texas prospect coming into the class. So that's where I'm at with that. Is there any concern based on what Forster said that they aren't replacing Brendel? I don't know what he said, to be honest with you. So I can't give you a strong reaction to that. I don't know what he said about Brendel. Um, I feel like I watched his presser, but I don't think anything really stood out to me. Um, he was talking about I heard that part. I remember him talk about him referencing Brendel as being a quick twitch guy. Um, but um, I know he loves Brendel. I know that's his guy. I got nothing against Brendel. I think Brendel's a cool dude. I got to chop it up with him at the Super Bowl for about 5-6 minutes. Gave me a bunch of his time. Super cool, man. Like I got nothing against any one of these players, but I just think that if the offensive line wants to be better next season, you can't have Brendel as your starting center. Um, you just can't. I don't think he's at an age where he's not going to improve. He's he's on the back end of his career. Um, he is an aging veteran. Um, and so typically in that realm, they go the opposite direction. They don't get better as they get older when you go beyond 31, 32, 33. It happens in some instances, not every instance, but when you're projecting out, you have to project out that, Brendel regressing this year was a variable outcome and it happened. So you can't hope that you are just going to get Brendel to get back to what he was 2 years ago. Like that can't be the way that you go about it. You have to get better at that position. You got to get younger. Um, it doesn't sound like Zakel is going to be an ideal option at center. Sounds like Barch could have some potential there. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's still super early for me in the process of the draft evaluation. I got a lot of homework to do. I know people keep asking me for my opinions and my takes, and it's like I don't want to give you a false take. I don't want to be like, well, this is what I think about the guy, and I haven't watched a lick of his film. So for me, I got a lot of film work to do. I've done preliminary first impressions on the top 3 tackles. Not impressed necessarily at 11. More film work could change my mind. But I got to do a lot of work on centers and I got to do guards as well to see what it is, because I know for a fact we need to get better on the interior offensive line faster than we need to get better on the edges, assuming Trent Williams is back and assuming McKivitz is back. They need to get better at interior. They need to get better at center, and they need to get better at left guard. I don't think Banks returns. And Jake Brendel might be here, but they absolutely need to bring someone in at minimum to compete, at minimum. And if that means bringing in a veteran, if that means drafting someone, I was tweeting about it today. Next year, I really want to see the 49ers be able to run in between the tackles and not run in between the tackles because they have super slippery, good running backs, but because the holes are there, because the offensive line generates them. I want to see more gap scheme. I want to see more counter and trap concepts. I want to see offensive line pulling. I want to see more gap scheme. I'm typically I found a lot of my success as a player in the zone scheme. I really enjoyed the zone scheme. I also enjoyed pulling as well. So, but they don't have pullers right now. Aaron Banks is not a puller. He just can't do it. He doesn't have the athletic ability. He's too big. It just doesn't work for him. He runs too high. He's just not a puller. So they can't really pull um, Banks to the right side. Typically, if we see them pull, it's Pooney getting pulled. I want a center that can pull to be able to utilize some different type of gap scheme. I just really want the 49ers next season to be able to run in between the tackles at will, not like off some trickery stuff, not off some misdirection, just like that, like literally they could come to the line and be like, "Hey, we're running trap. Good luck," and just run it and just punch them in the face and move guys out of the way. We don't have guys that can move other guys. Jake Brendel cannot move defensive tackles. Jake Brendel is constantly being pushed backwards. Jake Brendel wins by being able to leverage block you, by being able to reach block you, or to be able to get to second level. That's how Jake Brendel wins. He wins by being able to be a finesse center, which I have experience with. That's how I won. I didn't win with like massive power. I won with speed. I won with first step. I won with beating you to the spot. That's how I won. But I'm also familiar that you need to be able to dig out these zero techs and you need to be able to limit penetration at the line of scrimmage on the interior. And right now, it's just not happening. And it really hurts our run game. And Banks is very inconsistent in the run game. So we just all it takes is one guy to not be doing well in the run game and the whole offensive line struggles. But when you have two guys who are struggling in the run game consistently, um, it makes for a hard time. And I think when you look at the 49ers uh, red zone struggles, there's a reason why they can't run in the red zone is because they load the box and the offensive line um, isn't able to do what they need to do. And so they're constantly passing in those situations. They're constantly trying to do other things that when it should be, it's time to run. It's time to run the football. It's time to move the line of scrimmage. Um, so that definitely needs to be something that needs to be addressed. It needs to improve. Needs to be hugely um, assessed in the off season. So I mean, we're going to be talking about it a lot for sure. The offensive line for sure is going to be something that will continue to be at the top of the list of items to correct. But again, we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how it progresses moving forward. But yeah, gonna be something that we need. Uh, Fautanu. When you get a chance to do homework on centers, I'll be interested on your Fautanu take. Any relation to Troy Fautanu? We can get him later in the draft. He plays. He has plays that really impressed me, but I'm not sure. I'm pulling for him. All right, all right. I'll take a look. I'll keep that name in mind. I'll keep that name in mind. So we'll see. What's up, Brad? Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you guys as well. Um, is this really my first stream of the new year? I can't even keep track anymore. Um, you see the 49ers drafting Ashton Gentry in this year's draft. I don't. Unfortunately, I think there will be a chance that he is available at 11, but I don't see the 49ers doing that. I think when you look at the player, he's a great player, but I don't love the positional value of Gentry at 11. Now, and again, I'm not taking a guy at 11 who might not see the field. So I can't do it. You know, assuming Christian McCaffrey is healthy, we already know Kyle isn't a big RBBC kind of guy, running back by committee. Um, so if and you also have Garendo, who they took, who's I think came along nicely, really developed as the year progressed. Who knows? Maybe they get Elijah Mitchell back on a very, very cost effective 1 year deal because he is a restricted or unrestricted free agent. So I actually could see them bringing back Elijah Mitchell. I know that fans probably won't like that idea, but I think if you look at it from a standpoint of they like Elijah Mitchell when he's healthy, that's just his biggest issue is being healthy. So that could lend itself to getting him back for really cheap, and they could target a running back later. I really think that you have to have positional value in mind when you're drafting at pick 11. Yes, you want to go best player available, but if Gentry is the best player available at 11, I still don't know that you want to go there. Because unless you had no starting running back, then I don't think it makes sense for for uh for that. So I love the player. I don't love the positional value for him. Um, so uh, yeah. Um, I definitely prefer premier positions like edge, um, even interior defensive tackle. Uh, I'm really fixated on edge. Edge or interior defensive tackle, like that's who I really would prefer to see. Um, Nico says, "Do you make more money when the 49ers are better?" I don't know, but I appreciate the super chat. Um, so when we look at the draft and we look at what's coming up, I I don't necessarily want them to draft for need straight up. I do want them to go BPA, but it also has to BPA has to align with positional value. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but plenty of things to happen. The off season will be something for sure. Oh yeah, it's going to be crazy. Um, it's going to be crazy. I think that the 49ers, I'm saying it now. Like I'm totally prepared for it. The 49ers are going to bring in a former starting quarterback. someone who started in this league will be the backup quarterback. Um, Most likely to insulate themselves from a potential holdout due to the Brock Purdy contract negotiation. So I 100% believe that we're going to be connected to a lot of quarterbacks. And as a result of being connected to a lot of quarterbacks, there's going to be a lot of conversation about those quarterbacks. And we're eventually going to sign one of them. So I don't know who that. I've already made it known. I was like, I would love to see the 49ers go after Justin Fields. I think that would be phenomenal. Um, but yeah, I've started it already. We put this out yesterday. Matt Mayoko apparently said it would not shock me if Kirk Cousins is the backup. Of course, it can't shock you because the 49ers are absolutely going to bring in a former starting quarterback. And it does make a lot of sense for Kirk Cousins, who will most likely be released and just be looking for an opportunity. And he's entering into that stage of his career where heading towards that journeyman backup role. So he could absolutely come back to a coach he's familiar with. Kyle Shanahan finally gets Kirk Cousins. And then, as the 49ers and Brock Purdy's, uh, representation continue to haggle it out over how much money to pay, they then have a quarterback who they could say, well, if Brock holds out, at least we got a quarterback. Well, at least we got Kirk Cousins. So I don't know. I've been mentioning this for a while now. I mean, we haven't been talking about it a whole lot because we're not fully integrated into the offseason, but I 100% believe the 49ers are going to be in the business of trying to sign a a quarterback, a starting quarterback, former starting quarterback, not because I want them to, but because I've covered this team long enough to understand um, how they operate. So it is what it is. It is what it is. What's up, my guy? Good to have you in. Um, Joy says, I can't see Brock holding out. The only reason I can is because I'm fully aware of how negotiations go with the 49ers. That's the only reason. That's gosh, guys, I can't tell you how much information I've gotten about how these contract negotiations go through multiple star players. So I wish I could be like, yeah, there's no way. There's no way that Brock. If anything, this one might make the most sense for a holdout because of potentially how far apart they will be on this. So I'm preparing for everything. I'm preparing for it all. I hope I there's nothing more that I would love than the 49ers to wrap this up, put a bow on it, and get this over with. But I am not betting on that happening. Not even close. In fact, I think I would, if you had to say put money on Brock not holding out or holding out, I might take the holdout. Not because I think he's greedy or because I think he is just going to hold the franchise hostage. No, I just think there's going to be a gap, and that gap is going to persist throughout the entire off season, and then it's going to get into training camp, and that gap will still exist. And because Brock is, it's the same concept as Christian McCaffrey, as Trent Williams. He's only got 1 year left on his deal, and there's no real money involved. And that is typically when you S or get off the pot. You either pay your guy or you trade him, right? We've seen that move. So far, the 49ers have paid those guys. They re-upped Trent, they re-upped uh CMC. And so you would have, like we talked about with Debo, we're either expecting him to get traded or re-upped. With Kittle, we're expecting him to either get traded or re-upped. I really hope he gets re-upped. I really don't want him to get traded. But the same thing applies with Brock. Is if they're far apart, he's not stepping on the field. Like it's the unfortunate nature, and I wish that wasn't how we do things. I wish it wasn't how we operate, but it is. So I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be blindsided. Um, I'm not. I can't. We have too much information um, from all these past negotiations to believe that that won't happen. Like, I mean, look at Trent Williams. Trent Williams is beloved in this locker room, beloved by Kyle, beloved. Like he was, I would consider like Trent, like it's him and Kittle and Fred at the top of like the leadership hierarchy in that locker room. All of them had issues getting paid. So it's like, is that going to change with Brock because he's a quarterback? I don't think so. Um, so I'm just saying, like, I hope to be wrong. I hope to come back and be like, hey, damn, I was wrong about that. They got that taken care of in a hurry. That's my hope. But no, no. When it comes to being optimistic about a non-drama filled contract negotiation with this organization, no. That ship has sailed many years ago. Um, Joy, I hope I'm so wrong. I hope I am wrong. I hope I am so it would be the happiest day of my life to be wrong about that because you guys know, like these contract negotiations are exhausting, especially when someone like me has to cover it, and we got to talk about all the rumors and trade stuff and la da 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 da. Like, I'm not. It's not something that I live for. It's definitely one of the banes of my existence. Talking about contracts in the offseason with this team, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. And we are now heading into our biggest negotiation in quite some time because it's the quarterback. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it gets done right away. Um, I hope what Nigel says is what happens. Deal done fast, not a situation with BA. I pray. I would love that. I would love that. But did I did I tell you guys the am I gonna take accountability if he's wrong? Absolutely not. I want to say I told you the whole time this was gonna be easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you, guys, I told you all along this was gonna be so easy. Brock Purdy contract negotiate. Come on. I told you. I told you. Super easy. Piece of cake. Bet that. Bet that. I will not be taking accountability. Bro, let me tell you a story. I don't think I've told this story yet. I don't think I have. Um, but it's a fun story. I think it's worth telling. Um, so if you guys watch my like pregame content when I go to games, I stand in that front row in the section of the end zone, and I just grab all my video, grab all my content, post it up, whatever. So standing there every game, week in, week out, you run into the same guys. Like, so my guy Mike, who I've gotten to know over the last couple years from like going and standing in this one spot. Um, we end up standing there like vibing. He's vibing. I'm out here getting content. What I love about Mike is he yells at everyone. Like, you talk about the total, like, a guy that you want in your corner hyping you up, the best hype guy. He's hyping up everyone who's on the field. He's shouting out that guy. He's shouting out this guy. Hey, Fred, let's go. Like, I don't know if you guys saw when I posted Diamador Lenore wearing the hyena mask, where he was wearing, like, he put on the hyena. That was from Mike. Mike brought the hyena mask. He was wearing it with his Demo jersey, and he brought one for Demo. He gave it to Demo's crew. They walked it over to Demo. Demo puts on the hyena mask. I mean, so he's the ultimate hype guy, right? And I love standing next to him during the pregame because he's hyping everyone up. I love it. And so every game, typically, at a certain point in the game, you have Parag Marate, right? Parag Marate. He's the guy who's in charge of all these contracts, right? And so typically every game, he walks by us, and he's got his wife, he's got his kids, maybe some other like employees. Like, it's pretty typical path for him. So with Mike standing next to me, Mike calls him the money man. So anytime he sees Parag walking by, he goes, "The money man, let's go. We got the money man." And so, like, when Parag walks by after they sign, Diamador Lenore, he's hyping him up. Yeah, the money man got Diamador Lenore done. Let's go. Right? He's being the hype guy. This one particular time, here comes Parag. And he goes, the money man. I know he's already working on getting Brock Purdy taken care of, getting Brock Purdy paid. Let's go. Right. So he mentions the Brock Purdy contract, and he's like, we're going to get it done. I know you're already working on it. We're going to get this taken care of. His wife, the way his wife looked at Parag when she heard Mike say the thing about Brock Purdy getting paid, I'm like, she's in front of Parag. She turns around and looks at Parag like this. Like, did you hear that? I was like, oh, and I looked at Mike and I was like, did you see that? He's like, yeah, I saw that. I was like, that was very, very interesting body language. I'm not saying that it means anything. I have no idea. But again, like, it's become like just like a running thing. Parag walks by, Mike yells "money man" at him, and he's hyping him up. He's not like talking bad at Parag or anything. But when he said the thing about paying Brock, and the way his wife looked at him, I can't like, it was like, did you hear what he said? I was like, oh, that's interesting. That was interesting. We're out here. We're evaluating body language. It's a part of the process, and I wasn't expecting to be about evaluating Parag's wife and her response to someone saying about getting Brock paid. But her body language was fascinating. The look that she gave Parag, it wasn't like a positive, reassuring look. Dude, we're talking about a tinfoil hat theory right now. We're talking about a tinfoil hat theory right now. It was a look like I said, dude. They've walked by after countless games, and Mike is always calling him the money man and this, that, the other thing. And when he said the thing about Brock, the way she looked at him, I was like, oh, that was very interesting response to that interaction. Like she looked at him like, see, I was like, oh, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. We can go on a tangent about it, but like I said, man, like nothing like just like, hey, we're gonna get Brock paid. Let's go. We're getting on it. And to see that reaction to that comment from his wife, it was like, oh, I wonder what they've talked about. I wonder what's being said, because that reaction wasn't something that I necessarily anticipated. So, what does that mean? I have no idea. Could mean absolutely nothing. But at the end of the day, I was like, yeah, that was worth having a story time over. So, what does it mean moving forward? Uh, that is pretty much what I took away. It was like it was almost like see, it was like it felt counter, like the body language in the face and like the turning around while they're walking to look at him. It definitely was like, see, you're gonna get a ton of crap for this kind of a look. Like, if that makes sense. Like, and again, observations, right? Just observations, could be wrong, but I thought it was very fascinating to say the least. But that's my story time. Again, I hope to be absolutely wrong uh, on that uh, situation with Brock Purdy in the contract negotiation, but I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic at all. That's why if you've seen me like posting about Justin Fields or another quarterback, is because I actually believe that the 49ers will be bringing in a quarterback. That's why uh I've already made the chart again back to 2021. Remember when we had all this filled with quarterbacks that the 49ers were linked to? So I expect the 49ers to bring in a starting caliber quarterback. Um, because if there's anything that we've learned, leverage matters in these contract negotiations. And right now, the 49ers don't have any leverage if Brock Purdy decides to hold out. So if he does hold out, they're going to want a backup plan. So, yeah, I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it wasn't, but it's a reality, at least in my opinion, of where I think we're at. And again, I hope I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, I'm not taking any accountability for it. I'm going to say I was right the whole time. uh, no, he does have leverage because he's not going to play next year. That's the leverage. It's the same thing that applies to everyone who's come before him. Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Um, he will not play next year on that deal. Absolutely not. He is severely underpaid. This whole league is about paying the player at value when it's their turn, and it's his turn. It's not anything about like, oh, we'll make him play. No, that pretend that fourth year doesn't exist. The only issue is that it creates a holdout scenario because he's not an unrestricted free agent. If he was an unrestricted free agent, the 49ers would have to negotiate with him prior to free agency. That's the unfortunate part about this situation is that I think it would get taken care of sooner if he was like a real free agent, like a unrestricted free agent, because they would need to make sure he's locked up prior to hitting the open market. When he hits the open market, then you create a bidding situation where you have all these other teams who are going to come in and potentially drive the price up. So they don't have that situation. He is under contract, which means he isn't being able to drive leverage through other teams and through that timeline. His Purdy's leverage is I'm not playing next year without a new deal. That's his leverage. What's the 49ers leverage? Well, our leverage is we're going to bring in a starting quarterback that if you do decide to hold out, we have someone that we can rely on. So that's my expectation. I hope to be wrong. But like I said, if I am wrong, I'm going to say I was right the entire time. You clip it, book it. No, I'm just kidding. If I'm wrong, I will I will gladly say I was freaking wrong. I hope to be wrong. I've never wanted to be wrong so much in a situation in my life because I don't want to go through off-season contract drama at the quarterback level. That would be we're heading into something that we have never experienced before. Woo! Jack says, "What do I think about the defense and how should we mold or change it?" I'm assuming they're going to bring back Sorensen for one more season. I think a lot of the talk that we have heard coming out of the 49ers has been about learning on the job, having to overcome injuries and learn and play through adversity. I think the 49ers might treat this season with Sorensen as like, all right, this was your learning year. Next year, there's no more learning. You got to go out and execute, and you got to get this defense back to where it needs to be. And I would imagine that with a full year as a defensive coordinator for a first-time DC, he would be in a better position to be able to make those adjustments and to be able to put his own stamp on the defense. But it'll be fascinating to see if they do somehow attract a big time DC. But again, who knows? Maybe the 49ers, don't have the greatest reputation for DCs right now, because if Wilkes goes one and done and then Sorensen goes one and done, it might not be the most glamorous position to want. I don't know. I could be wrong with how it's viewed in in coaching circles, but you never know, man. Like if they fired Sorensen, it could be a situation where like, well, why would we want to go there? You had a lot of issues on offense, and you got a lot of holes on defense. You're running through guys. You're trying to make we have to fit your system. It's not I can't bring in my own system and my own coaches. That's I think the problem is that if you bring in a new DC and you want specific change, you have to let the DC build out his staff. You got to let him bring in new linebacker coaches or safety coaches or cornerback coaches or D-line coaches, which I don't think the 49ers want to do necessarily. Um, I think they want that continuity on the defensive side. And so it would have to be like maybe they would do it for Robert Saleh. But I don't think, from what I've heard, I don't think Robert Saleh and Kyle have the best relationship. So I don't know if that happens. So we'll see. We'll see. I see a world that exists where Sorensen comes back, but I think if you can stay healthy on defense and you have Sorensen heading into year 2, you could have a better output um, next season than what we saw. I think injuries played a huge role uh, and stuff like that. So I think I think Sorensen might be here for one more year. And then we'll see. I think Sorensen might be here for one more year, and if they do struggle again next year, um, I do think that the coaching could be evaluated a little bit harder and on both sides. But we'll see. We'll see. They have an opportunity to have a good draft and add some free agents where they have not been super successful as of late. Um, you think of the nickel cornerbacks that they've tried to get, uh, not ideal. Um, the linebacking depth that they tried to add in free agency, not ideal. So they need to add more talent. Let's not forget that you really need talent on the field to be able to execute any scheme that you're trying to implement. So we'll see. We'll see what comes to fruition. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Who do I think can replace Trent Williams? Ugh. I haven't come across anyone like I said, I've done some work um on Will Campbell, on the West Virginia tackle, and Banks out of Texas, and none of those guys jump out to me as Trent Williams replacements. Um, Banks, if Banks was like Banks isn't built like Trent. Banks is built like Banks kind of reminds me of Lincoln Tomlinson. Like wide, big, very big, wide. Um, I don't think he moves as well as Lincoln. Um, so I haven't come across anyone yet. Like I said, I've only gone through 3 of the prospects at the top tackle level. Uh, Will Campbell to me would be potentially that guy. But he needs some work too. I didn't see any guy that was like super polished. Um, and that could replace Trent. I mean, you could replace Trent by just putting him in there, but I didn't see anyone that like jumped off the tape like, yeah, let's go and get him. Like Christian Darrisaw, when I scouted Christian Darrisaw coming out of Virginia Tech, I was like, that looks like Trent Williams. When I was watching Darrisaw, I was like, okay, this guy moves really well. This guy's really good in pass protection. Um, he has the same type of athletic ability at his size as Trent Williams. Like, so you could see some of the parallels with Darisaw and with Trent. I get there's not even a stitch of anything that reminds me of Banks to Trent Williams. Not even in the same tier of athlete. Which I know I get is hard to do because Trent is a unicorn when it comes to his athletic ability. But like I said, Darisaw looked like Trent, very similar. When you look at guys like the offensive tackle coming out of Northwestern, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. He was drafted by the Chargers. He was one of my favorite prospects coming out. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. When one of you say it in the chat, I'm gonna be really upset with myself. Um, but he was an undersized tackle, 6'3". A lot of people questioned his ability at tackle. I said no, full stop. He is going to be a great left tackle or a great tackle in this league. Um, oh, what's his name? All right, I'm gonna look it up. Chargers OT. Uh, Rashawn Slater. Come on, man. What a noob. So I'm talking about Rashawn Slater. Like Slater was undersized, but his technique and his movement abilities had me having no doubt. Kind of like how I felt with Troy Fautanu. Troy Fautanu was undersized, but his athletic ability and his technique left me no doubt that he was going to be a good prospect, regardless of his size. Banks is just big. He's just a big body, and he moves like a big body. I don't like that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I've become very specific with what type of offensive lineman I'm looking for, that I think will translate to being most successful in the league. And I think the league needs to translate to more athletic offensive linemen. I think just being big isn't going to cut it in the league. And you could see that with Banks against Arizona State. You can see the kind of lack of contact balance. You could see how he stops his feet in pass protection. He got beat to the inside multiple times in pass protection. I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I was told he was supposed to be like really like the consensus All American left tackle. And so I was expecting like a Darisaw or a Rashawn Slater. I was expecting someone who was really freaking good, and I didn't see it. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna do a full film breakdown. Oh, I'm right here with you, Sean. If I could have a if it was up to me, my offensive line would be all Polynesian, all Samoans, all Tongans. That's all it would be. Tackle to tackle, straight poly offensive line. That's all it would be. I agree 100%. If I could, I would. Just a bunch of Troy Fautanus all over the place. Absolutely. Poly boy is built different, man. Especially when you throw them in the trenches. You got to find the right ones, though. You gotta find the ones that love ball, because there are some very talented, but they love the Apokalolo a little bit more than they love football. So, hey, shout out to some of my boys. Those some of my boys, but you got to find the right ones. Yeah, a bunch of ponies. Yep, absolutely. Pony, Fautanu, Fuaga. Get me all the poly offensive linemen. But you got to find the right ones, because you don't, you're about to peel these dudes off the couch because They're going to be having couch lock. I played with a bunch of them. So I know for a fact, you get him on the field, you're like, oh, this dude's great. But all he does in his off time be twisting them up. That's it. But I digress. I'm having fun with that. Uh, I'm all in on Polynesian players, but there is a specific thing you got to scout with Polynesian players. It's up here. I just got to make sure that they're about it, like they're about that life. They're like really motivated to be good. But nah, shout out to my Poly boys, dude. I love my Usos and my Tokos. Yeah, all day, all day, all day. I love you. I love my guys. If I could be adopted by any other culture, it would be Polynesians. I freaking love Polynesians, dude. My favorite, my favorite people, my favorite type of people. Uh, they're always singing, always laughing, always cracking jokes. They make you feel like family. Um, I love playing with my poly boys, man. Uh, I was honorary Polynesian back when I was playing. Um, but they're a lot of fun, man. They're a lot of fun. Love my guys. Um, but anyways, we'll see, we'll see. But last Friday of the year, before we get into full blown off season. I mean, it's felt like the off season for a couple weeks now, but hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to turn the page and officially end this year, um, and just put it behind us. I think, I think everyone's upset with how this year has gone, myself included. But I also think there's a lot to learn from this year, and there's a lot to be able to pinpoint and say it's very easy to see where we can get better. And I really think that um, that we should be able to do that relatively easily. Now, easier said than done, but I think we can pinpoint. Joy says, "Are we making picks for Sunday?" I already made my picks, Joy. We went Pearsall with the over. I mean, sleepers got Pearsall really low. Debo Samuel's already been ruled out. So Pearsall's only set at 35.5. I went over. Dobbs, I went over on rushing yards because I think he'll be moving around. And McBride, 69.5. I went on the over with that because I think he'll be targeted a lot. Hawaii SDS draft party. Oh yeah, if you're making the food, sign me up. Sign me up for sure. Absolutely. Oh, oh, damn! You just made me hella hungry. I haven't been to a poly cookout since college. I need to get back, man. I need to get back. Oh man, you talk about vibes. That's a vibe right there. But you guys have been vibes all year. Shout out to the SDS. I know it is technically January 3rd. I'm stuck in this, like, it's a new year, but we're still in the old year because of the season. But season's going to be over here in a second. This Sunday officially comes to an end, and we will be on our way into the off season with more months to spare than we have had since 2021. So a lot of draft coverage, a lot of free agent coverage. Lord help us, a lot of contract coverage. But you already know the vibes. You already know the vibes. We're going to get after it. And again, shout out to all the SDS. I know it's been a difficult year. It's been a challenging year. But again, it's always nice seeing the familiar faces in the chat. But again, I appreciate all of you guys for your continued support and just continuing to talk ball, man. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you all. So we'll be back. Today's Friday. We'll do what we do on Sunday, and we'll be kicking off. Draft season starts on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. You know the vibes. Grab your cookies on the way out. Appreciate you all. Until next time, I'm out for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.